Hey guys, so we are here today to do a first impressions of the new Viseart Petite Pro 3 palette. I believe this is $30? $30 or $35. I purchased this off of Beautylish. So if you're interested in seeing how this performs, I'm also going to do some comparison swatches to some of the other palettes that have like similar tones to this. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, then just keep on watching. So here is the Petite Pro palette. It is about business card size, and if you have any of the other two, it's pretty much the exact same setup. So it flips open and then it flips down. It has 8 shades, 4 matte on top, 4 shimmers, and then all of these are magnetized and removable. So you can just pop out any of these little pans here and either put them in a bigger palette or do whatever you want, replace them with the other Petite Pro palette pans, mix and match if you want. It also has like a little mirror. So I love these palettes for travel. The Petite Pro 1 was like my travel buddy, not this past January, but the January before, I believe, when it first came out. So here is what the first one looks like. Let me just hold this up as a comparison to this third one here. So there's some similar shades in there, but I think the undertones are a little bit different, but we'll do a little bit of swatching. And then let me just show you number 2. Number 2 is definitely kind of like the outlier in these 3 palettes. It's like the most warm and brightest of the 3, I think. So there's number 2 and here's number 3. And so let me go ahead and swatch number 3, and then I'm going to try and remember to give myself some room so that we can swatch next to these colors, some similar colors that Viseart has already come out with. Alright, so I'm going to start with the 4 mattes on top. And I've already swatched these on my Instagram stories. If you guys like unboxings and swatches and things like that, definitely follow me on Instagram. But these shadows definitely feel very similar to all the other Viseart shadows that I have. So no surprises there. There's the first 4. And then let me do the 4 shimmers down here. All of these shimmers are like just a straight up kind of satiny shimmer. None of them have micro glitters in there. That was the one thing I didn't like in the Absinthe palette. That gold shade had kind of chunky glitter in there, and I just didn't like it. And so I was happy to see that these just are straight up shimmers, and they're very, very beautiful. So there are the 8 shades from Petite Pro 3. So I'm going to go ahead. I think the first obvious color that looks similar to something that may have come out already is this dark matte green. It looks very, very similar, if not the same, to the green in the Absinthe palette, so this one. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch this right next to that green, and let's see. I'm just going to get more of the Petite Pro. I feel like my original swatch was a little lame there. So they look to be the same. So I don't know if this was an attempt at a new color or if they just decided to put the same color in this palette. I think it's very close, if not the same. This color here in Petite Pro 3, which is the second darkest shade, looks very, very similar to this shade here in Petite Pro 1. It definitely is not the same. The one in Petite Pro 1 is definitely lighter, but they have a similar tone, so I do want to see if they kind of swatch similarly. So here is from Petite Pro 1, and I'm just going to swatch that right next to it. The Petite Pro 1 definitely looks a little brighter than this one in Petite Pro 3. Petite Pro 3 is cooler and a little bit like more toned down. And then at taking a look at Petite Pro 2, really doesn't look like there's anything even close to Petite Pro 3. They're all very, very different. Alright, and next to the Triste palette, there are quite a few that look kind of similar, if you will. So there's like the matte, like peachy color that looks kind of similar, and then the sparkly, the shimmery purple color. So let me go ahead and swatch those. So this is the one that I'm thinking looks kind of similar to the light matte shade up here. Oh no, it's much peachier. This one is much pinkier and cooler. So that is not close. And then, yes, this purpley shimmer here looks very similar to this one here in the pan, but you can see those are very different too. This one has kind of like a brownish undertone. This one's like a little bit brighter, the one in the Petite Pro. Oh, and then this shade looks very similar, this one in the center here looks very similar to the lightest shimmer in the Petite Pro. So let's give that a shot. Yeah, it's almost like the same idea as this. This one's much peachier, the one in the Tris palette, and then this one is much cooler, a little bit more like, has like a lavender undertone versus peach in the Petite Pro. So there's some similarities there, but aside from this matte dark green color, I don't think any of these are like exact dupes. So I just checked the other Theory palettes that I have, Cashmere and Siren. None of those have anything close to what's in this palette. So I think that's it for comparison swatches. Let's go ahead and move into the demo. Okay, I should make note right here. These swatches are hard to get off. Hard to get off, which tells me they're very pigmented. They'll probably have very nice longevity. Oh, I should also mention that the shade names are on the back of the box, but I'll probably just refer to them by pointing. By looking at this palette, I think it's different. I really like it. I feel like this is probably a little bit more like fall winter friendly, at least in my mind. It just seems like it would be a little bit more fall friendly. But when I look at this palette, I'm reminded of kind of like an English garden kind of theme, which is funny because Viseart draws a lot of their inspiration from Paris, like their Golden Hour palette, which is their first 9-pan palette. That I think was inspired by like a sunset in Paris, and they're a Parisian-based company. Anyway, when I look at this, I see English Garden. So I don't know where they drew their inspiration, but it is very, very pretty. It's very, very different. I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but I guess I'll start with this second matte color here, and I'm gonna use my Wayne Goss number 17 brush, just a fluffy blending brush, and put that into my socket line here and on my outer corner. It looks very, very kind of brownish taupe, like mushroom colored in the pan, but it has a lot of purple in there, a lot of red in there. So it kind of comes off like a washed out, kind of like lilac. I don't know if that's translating on camera, but it's very pretty. I had eyeshadow on my upper lip here this whole time. Okay, so there's the first color down. I think what I definitely want to try is this metallic color here. This just looks so interesting. It's like a greenish, almost like a chartreuse. Definitely not that bright. Definitely not that bright. It's a little bit more lemony than that. But I'm going to go ahead and put that all over my lid. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to use this Chantecaille brush. This actually came in one of the empty palettes that they sell. It's a great brush. It's a really great brush. I'm going to go into this shade dry, but I think we can try it wet also and see what happens. So I just have a little bit of it dry, and I'm just going to place that starting from the inner part of my lid and move out. It's very pretty, but it's very, very subtle. So I'm going to wet my brush and see if we can kind of amp up the metallic qualities of the shadow. So there is that metallic, light, lemony lime color. That's really pretty. Let's see, what should we use next? I think what I'm going to do is deepen out the outer corner of my eye and line both my upper lash line and lower lash line with the dark green color here. So let me start by deepening up the outer corner. I'm going to go in with the same Wayne Goss brush, the number 17 brush that I used with the first matte shade. And I'm going to go in lightly since this color is so dark and so pigmented. And just kind of give it a subtle wash there, just to give it a little bit of dimension. I don't want to cover up all of that taupe color that I laid down first. So there is the dark matte green color just on the outer corners. I'm going to go ahead and line my eyes with this color now. All right, there are my eyes lined with the dark matte green color. I'm trying to figure out if I can kind of squeeze in another shade here. Actually, let's use this light, shimmery, kind of lilac-y shade, and let's put that in the inner corners. I'm gonna grab my Tom Ford pencil brush, this is number 14. And then let's just throw this light matte shade. I'm just gonna use this to kind of blend the top out. I think it's a little bit too pigmented for like a brow bone highlight, but could be good for blending out up here. So I'm going to go into this shimmery purple shade here. Just add it to the center here, basically right underneath the iris of my eye. Alright, so there is my finished eye look. Overall, I really like this Viseart Petite Pro palette. I'm a huge fan of the Viseart shadows. I think the mattes are always great. Never ever a question. The shimmers are always, sometimes they can be hit or miss. I think they've really amped up the shimmers and they just are beautiful. Like these shimmers in here are so creamy. They have, I think, like just a really, really nice level of shimmer. I think dry, they go on with just enough shimmer, like you don't have to worry about looking a little too ostentatious, but if you wet it, it gets amped up a little bit, so you have some options there. And I think this color selection is really interesting. I wish, of course, they had put in a different shade here, but I like this shade in this palette, so I think it does work. But because I have the Absinthe palette, it's sort of like, now I feel like I have two of the same really dark matte green shadows. So that's my only very, very minor complaint. Other than that, I think these are beautiful. This sage color is a nice improvement over the gold shimmer that's in the Absinthe palette with those glitter chunks in there, which I didn't like. And I just love the ease of these palettes. They're so, so portable. You get so many different looks from one palette, from all of the Petite Pro palettes. So I hope you enjoyed this swatch review demo of the new Viseart Petite Pro 3 palette. Definitely let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you in my next video.